Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on Sports Illustrated and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. It's great to be with you today. You all know who this guy is. He is one of my dear friends. He is our Miami Dolphins beat writer on Sports Illustrated. He's been on this podcast many times. He is a terrific journalist. He is a great friend of mine, not a good friend. He's a great friend, lovely wife, beautiful family, all friends, adore this guy and everything about him. I'm so proud to call him my friend. And any chance, any excuse I can get him on this podcast, I love having him on. The great Alan Poupar. Hi, my friend.
What up, Hondo?
So let's talk Dolphins. Tua, I'm going to tell you this flat out. I do not know Tua. I've talked to him a few times, especially at the Alabama, not since Miami. But I like him a lot. Great kid. I am very close to some people very close to his family. I'm stunned he came back. Uh, and Antonio Pierce even said, I would advise the kid, don't come back. There's life after football. I know he loves the game. I'm stunned at coming back. He didn't wear the covering on his helmet. Take me in the mindset. What has he said to you? What's he thinking? I understand he loves the game. I don't think he came back for money. I truly don't. I believe this is one of those guys that just, I mean, let's not pretend the money isn't a big deal. But I'm saying this is a guy that truly loves the game, wants to play. A lot of people believed he would have gotten a humongous insurance settlement if he had retired. So that's why I don't think his money was as big of a deal. He loves the game, wants to play. How shocked were you that he came back? What was the feeling in the fan base, feeling in the organization? Just give me the mindset, and then how do you read your mindset and his?
Well, let me start by saying that there never really was any sort of inkling that he would retire coming from inside there.
Okay.
It came from the people in the periphery on social media, people deciding what he should do.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he came back, he made it very clear that that thought never even entered his mind. And he met with a lot of different doctors who all basically told him the same thing, that you're not more at risk than you were before. And the Dolphins erred on the side of caution. Tua was saying he was symptom free the day after the game, where the concussion occurred, which was the Thursday night of week 2 against the Buffalo Bills. So from his standpoint, it's a non-issue. I can tell you, Tua is sick and tired of being connected with concussions. In fact, he had an interview with ESPN before the Monday night game where the question was, what do you want to be remembered for? And he said, well, I don't know, but I can tell you what I don't want to remember for, and it's being the poster boy for concussions. He would like very much that not be an issue. And I think part of him wanting to be rid of that sticker or stigma or whatever you want to call it would be one of the reasons he's not wearing the Guardian cap. Although also another part of it is there's some debate as to exactly how much more protection it provides than the QB specific helmet. That's number one. And number two, you see this in the way he's playing. And if you saw after he threw a pick against the Rams on Monday night, he basically got himself in the way of the linebacker who made the pick and dove. But what made contact was a shin and not a knee. Otherwise, we might have had a problem.
I want to talk to you again. I want to make it clear. I'm not trying to imply that I'm friends with him because I'm not, but I've had a lot of exposure to him, especially at Alabama. And again, having close relationships with some people close to his family. I don't think there's a shred of him that's a wimp or weak. But man, he is concussion prone. How would you describe it, Alan? How would you describe it to my listeners if you were trying to explain? Because I don't think he's a wimp. I don't think it's he's got to get tough. No, this isn't tough. The kid's tough. How would you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, getting a concussion has nothing to do with toughness. It's just what he's done, not particularly well, is protect himself. And
Mm-hmm.
even in the game on Monday night, this is his third game back from the concussion. There were a couple of plays where he's holding the ball in the pocket for a really, really long time and getting himself sacked. You look at the concussions in 2022, one of them is he's got a big old defensive tackle right in front of him on the Bengals. Instead of basically of curling up and taking a sack, he tried to make a quick juke around him and got himself basically slung to the ground because, again, he's not very big. And then at Alabama also, he got himself into injury issues, and it's usually when he's trying to extend the play.
Mm-hmm.
Last year was the first season in the NFL where he played a full season, and there was a conscious effort. And part of it was, he did because he had missed a concussion, a lot of games in 2022. He got heavier, which helps him not getting ragdolled in the pocket as easily. He learned jiu-jitsu, which to me was a massively overblown story. But the idea was basically that you develop some technique where if you know you're going to get slung to the ground, you can brace yourself and prepare not to let your head fall back. But more than anything else, he was very conscious with his decisions of not putting himself in harm's way. He got rid of the ball like we haven't seen in any of his first 3 seasons or even this year. Okay, if the play wasn't there, he would just chuck it out of bounds. Or if you saw a couple of scrambles out of the pocket, there would be somebody coming to meet him. He would slide in front of him, even if it was like 5 yards short of the first down marker. And it was smart. It helped him last the whole season. This year, he looks like he's back to being reckless Tua. And even in talking this week about, he literally said, I wouldn't do anything different than what he did against the Rams as far as going down low to tackle the defender because, hey, you're trying to keep him from scoring. Well, you also want to try to stay healthy and stay in the lineup. So, yeah, he's got to get smarter. And I don't know if it's in his makeup either because of competitiveness, because of the overhanging shadow of him being, the poster child for concussions. But it's a little problematic for the Dolphins.
Okay. I want to turn in a different direction and discuss the Dolphin team with you. Mike McDaniels is a guy that he's fun to watch. He's quirky. How are the fans? Are they still loving the guy and embracing him, even though the team's record isn't there? Or are they able to say, "Hey, listen, Tua went out. That's not on Mike." I'm just curious. I'm not there with him every day in the building. You are, and we both know somebody who's quirky can be super annoying to someone who has to deal with it every day. What's Mike McDaniels? How do you think he is with the Dolphin fan base? What are your thoughts on him?
Here's the Dolphin fan base is extremely polarized in no situation more so than with Tua, where it's basically either he's Hall of Fame bound or he sucks. Like there's no in between, which is completely annoying because that's obviously where the reality lies. And part
It's
of
like the Raiders with Derek Carr. They either loved him or hated him, and there was no in between.
It's completely ridiculous. There's no nuance. It's a little bit of the same thing with Mike McDaniel, that some of the fans are like still behind him. The fact that the Dolphins made the playoffs the past 2 years, the fact that McDaniel basically, I don't say revive is the right word, but he boosted Tua's career after 2 years under Brian Flores, earned him a lot of equity with the Dolphin fan base. There are other fans who are like tired of his long rambling answers during media sessions and criticize every play call, every decision he makes. So again, it's a mixed bag, and the jury's going to be out on as far as the overwhelming feeling about Mike McDaniel as we see the season play out in terms of where he stands with the organization. I think because of what he did for Tua and the fact that him and Tua are kind of a package deal, because he's the one who's gotten the most out of Tua, and Tua's contract basically, barring injury, he's going to be your quarterback from 2025 and 2026. I have a hard time seeing the Dolphins going with anybody else but Mike McDaniel as the head coach, regardless of how the season ends.
Let's talk about Christian Wilkins. I He has been such an incredible blessing to the Raiders. Uh, Obviously injured. Nobody expects him back this year, but that's not been his track record as a player. Um, does everything off the field right, everything on the field right. He's a leader. He takes young guys under his wing. He's just, tell me what went into the Dolphins letting that guy go. I know it's going to cost a lot of money, but dear Lord, I was stunned. I think a lot of teams were stunned. Was there something behind the scenes, or was it really just come down to money?
Positional value. And I know you and I disagree on this because you put him on the same plateau as a Chris Jones. And I've seen Chris Jones make a play at crunch time in practically every big game I've ever seen the Chiefs play. And that's not who Christian is. Christian's a very, very good player. He's a team leader. He's a tone setter. Don't know that he's a $28 million a year difference maker for a defense the way Chris Jones is. And you put up with Chris Jones, not necessarily maybe the consistent level maybe isn't quite the same. But again, you need a big play from your defense. Look for number 95 of the Chiefs. Usually he's going to make it. So it was where the Dolphins messed up, if they messed up, is they did offer a contract to Wilkins in his final year. It wasn't what they wanted. And then it just became, at some point you want more than we're willing to pay. And it comes on. It was the same thing. The Dolphins had another high-end player at guard, Robert Hunt, who wound up getting a really, really big contract with the Carolina Panthers. Is the guy the Dolphins would have loved to keep because the guy's a stud, but they weren't going to pay that kind of money for a guard. That's basically all it boiled down to.
Amazing. All right, let's look ahead to this weekend. Super excited to have dinner with you on Saturday night and spend some time with you. But prior to that, I want to just get your thoughts, process. I think if they played this game 10 times, the Raiders would win 3. I predicted them since the schedule came out to lose this game, but I've also saw what they did in Baltimore. I saw a couple weeks ago they should have beat the Chiefs. They rejuvenate themselves with promoting Scott Turner, moving Joe Philbin, the offensive line. I mean, you guys know he was not a good head coach, but he's an offensive savant. He takes over the offensive line, bring in Norv Turner to work with Scott. This is a team. I told you this on your podcast. I've been doing this for decades. I've never seen a team with the expectations of the 2024 Raiders having as bad of a year as they are as 2-7, and there's no finger pointing other than pointing at themselves. They're still united. They believe in AP. They love them. They're rejuvenated. They're excited. So again, I think if they place 10 times this game, I think the Raiders win 3. So I expect the Raiders to lose, but a win would not shock me. What's your thought on this ball game?
The level of depression in South Florida would reach record levels if the Dolphins were to lose this game. The Dolphins went into a dive after Tua went on IR with a concussion. They got subpar as being very, very polite. Quarterback play in his absence because they didn't plan properly, and they wound up with Skylar Thompson, who looked over his skis in his first start, and when Tyler Snoop Huntley, who's a running quarterback in an offense that asks for a quarterback to make quick, precise decisions. So that was a bad fit. And then Tua comes back. The offense shows life, but they lose 2 heartbreakers. Then they go against the Rams on Monday night. They win. All of a sudden, they're 3-6. You look at the AFC standings, and they're a game out of the 7th spot in the standings in terms of the loss column, only a game behind the Denver Broncos. They have the 3rd easiest schedule remaining. And all of a sudden it's like some fans already have checked out. Other fans are like, interesting. And the Dolphins themselves believe they can make a run, which is why they didn't make a move at the trade deadline. And it's going to come down to being able to win 1 or couple more games against teams that are tough down the stretch, which they haven't been very good at lately, either at Green Bay, at Houston, San Francisco at home. But in any scenario where the Dolphins make the playoffs, the Raiders game has to be like an absolute check mark. So this is why, I mean, again, it might be the Tennessee game last year on Monday night, when they were in control of the AFC East by taking care of their business, that put them out of control, was one of the most devastating losses for the Dolphins in recent years. If they lose against the Raiders on Sunday, it would be twice as bad.
Wow. All right. He's the great Alan Poupart. Alan, tell everybody where to find you on X, please.
I'm at Poupart NFL. My last name, Poupart NFL. And the site is Miami Dolphins on SI or si.com/NFL/Dolphins.
Also, you can find all of his work. I encourage you to go read it. site.com/NFL/Dolphins. Check out everything leading up to this big game. I'm looking forward to dinner on Saturday night. Remember, my treat.
Okay, no argument there. Sure.
All right. See you Saturday night.